September 7th. Actually, it's September 7th, September 8th. Wow, time flies. But that's what happens. We stay up until like 4 in the morning. Everything blends together. September 8th, the great year of 2025. And we're already into September. Wow, that is amazing. Good morning, Oakland. Good morning, Hawaii. Good morning. And I would say good afternoon on the East Coast because it is now 2 o'clock. It's a little after 2 o'clock. Well, it's 20 after, something like that. Anyway, I didn't make this vlog to say just all of that, but to bring you up to date on a small matter, but it is now to me important enough to explain in this way. If you're a regular viewer of Zennie 62, you remember when I interviewed Leanna Powell. Leanna Powell was the young lady who blew the whistle on then Oakland District 4 council member Shang Tao, who was running for mayor of Oakland, and accused her of civil rights violations, among other things, as was the case for then Councilmember Tao's chief of staff, then for a moment chief of staff when she was mayor, Rania Webb. Well, that story happened because Leanna brought her story to me and not to another media organization, like, for example, Oaklandside, rather than simply quote my interview, which was 2 hours. So they decided to write negatively about it and then try to attach the whole matter of my defense of the Oakland Vulcan oversized terminal to it. Okay. Completely disrespectful of Leanna Powell's situation. Completely 100%. As if to say, hey, if you're not bringing your story to us as Oaklandside, then we're not going to treat you with the respect that you deserve as a black woman being violated by someone in the city of Oakland. That's the statement Oaklandside sent. I invited the author of the piece that was written to attack what I was doing on to my video blog. That person declined. Wanted to play it their way, you know? But what they did was, in writing that article, they used one of my photographs without my authorization. Didn't ask, didn't even fake courtesy, like, you know, courtesy, Zennie 62 Media, Zennie Abraham, right? Nothing like that. No, just used it. So I filed a Digital Millennium Copyright Act takedown request from Google search and through Lumen, and it was gone. Gone. And in its place, left a kind of scarlet letter explaining that there was one violation of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. And for more details, click this link. I'm paraphrasing. So if you click that link, you discovered that it was Oaklandside. Well, they just weren't having it. They couldn't stand to lose to this black guy. Oh, he beat us. Okay? Couldn't stand that at all. I'm going to let that go. And in trying to strike back after time, this happened much later, okay? Much later. Like a good, I would say, year later, something like that. But obviously their wheels were turning over that time because they found a way of getting around the block so that the photo appeared yet again. In other words, they were so intent on violating Digital Millennium Copyright Act law. They were so intent on violating it just to get back at me that they would go to the lengths that they did to do so, to engineer a workaround. Well, guess what? I discovered the workaround, and I reported it. And by the grace of God and Lumen and Google, again, the photograph is gone. Okay? Gone. That's really a shame. And then when you say, hey, look, this has to do with me being black, and in the media, they haven't shown any other example of treating me fairly on a consistent basis. In fact, from the start, our relationship has been problematic because when Francis Dinkelspiel, who was the founder of Oaklandside, approached me, I hadn't talked to Francis by email. I hadn't talked to her, it wasn't by phone call, by email. I hadn't talked to Francis in about 20 years or so. I'm the person who gave her the information that led to the story that she wrote about the Oakland Raider bond issues, the Oakland Raiders bond issue, I should say, and how information was hidden from the Oakland City Council, information that would have altered the City Council's ultimate decision on the Raider bonds. I don't think it would have caused any type of rejection outright of the idea of floating bonds to pay for Oakland Coliseum Stadium upgrades at all. But it would have definitely led to an adjustment in how the bond issue was engineered. Well, I hadn't heard from Francis after that, and always liked her. Thought we had a great relationship. But I would have appreciated her, cluing me in on Oaklandside before eventually saying, "Hey, look, I want you to write a piece or make a story about my new editor," and wanted both of us to meet for lunch. And my email return and response was, "I think that after 20 years, don't you think we should talk and just catch up first?" You know, um, it just felt very. It's not the way I would play it. If someone's a friend of yours, ostensibly, that's what friends do. So obviously, I misread the situation entirely, didn't I? But why? Okay, what would I do? What have I done to do that? The answer is absolutely nothing. Okay. And at any rate, then the attack, then the attack came. Not just first indirectly as I see it, because Oaklandside, and I talked to Francis about this as it was happening, had a habit of attacking black men, politicos, in their publications. They did so with Derek Johnson, accusing him of not being, this is how stupid it was. You're saying that he's not successful because he filed for bankruptcy. When Donald Trump, our current president, has filed for bankruptcy, 6 times? And yet everyone considers him successful. So how is it that the man who started Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, and who's been a net contributor to Oakland culture, would be considered not successful, and yet because he filed for bankruptcy, okay, and yet Donald Trump is considered successful and he filed for bankruptcy 6 times? That's racism. Derek's problem was that Derek was just too afraid to fight back against what the Oaklandside was doing to him. And in particular, Oaklandside CEO Lance Noble. Lance is behind this. Notice I haven't mentioned any reporters or anybody else, because Lance is CEO, just like I'm CEO of Zennie 62 Media. Lance is responsible for all of this. But they fool people, they being Oaklandside, because they know that most people only see as far as who writes it and no further. Okay. For example, I'm a blogger, so they see me and they think, okay, you're responsible. And that's right. But Lance does the hiding thing. I don't want you to see who's really pulling the strings, is basically the statement he's making just by his actions. All right, just by his actions. And I've reached out several times and tried to have a great relationship with the people of Oaklandside. I recently invited Lance to come on my program. I don't want to come on your show, Zennie. Okay, fine. They have a true hostility toward me that even directs them to break the law. And it's for no reason other than me being black. That's it. Okay? That's it. They can manufacture any other reason they want to. But I can show you examples where they've been friendly to other people who are not black, who are non-traditional media. Okay? So, not having it. Not having it. The simple fact that this sort of thing happens in Oakland is the real problem with media in Oakland. There's no collaboration. If KTVU, for example, has a story, they just want me to give them the story, but they don't want to credit me. So there are specific circumstances. Now, when I was making blog material for City Brights, the new section of sfgate.com, this goes back to 2009 to 2011 for me, and really for the life of the program. I posted the same content that I put on my blogger blogs back then. Only the content on my blogger blogs never hit Google News. But when I put it on SFGate, it hit Google News. I mean, exactly the same. No modifications whatsoever. None. Not even title. Okay? None. I pointed this out to Hunter Walk, who worked for Google at the time. He brought it up in a meeting with the Google News people, and guess what? Within a few weeks, my blogger blog was on Google News. That was in 2009. All right? So, but while I was in that position, all of a sudden Channel 7 and my friend Larry Beal took an interest. Hey, invited me on and quoted me and all this sort of thing. But because they considered me as part of the Chronicle, not because I was on my own. In other words, I was blessed by white media. I wasn't a black guy with his own media company. Those are the little ways that people keep you from, rising until somebody says, hey, you know what? Things are changing and we need to mention this person more. And then it was, okay, as a separate person on his own with respect to media. Now, there have been organizations that have not treated me like that, most notably the National Football League, where I have been Zennie 62 Media and Zennie 62 from the start. Well, I was Sports Business Simulations at first from them when I had my first company, right? So I did it under that. And the NFL respected that. They didn't try to say, well, you have to be affiliated with a big media company. You have to be owned by a big media company. That's not the NFL. That's why draftniks and the whole term of draftnik was allowed to grow, because the NFL was recognizing the work of people like Joel Bushbaum and Bill Chackis and other people, and does so to this day. To this day, okay? To this day. That's the reason I've been able to grow Zennie 62 Media from an exposure perspective. Also have to credit CNN. They inherited me when they bought the CNN iReport back in 2006. And long story short, that's how I wound up being on the CNN YouTube Democratic debates. That was of 2007. And also, I was one of the first 128 bloggers ever invited to cover a Democratic National Convention in 2007. The historic 2007 Democratic National Convention. Okay. So, those were heady times. They really were. Heady times. So anyway, I have a story to tell in media, but the more important story is about how we in media in Oakland don't team up. If we did, Oaklanders would realize better coverage. It wouldn't be so all over the place, here and there, willy-nilly, everything else. There would be a true respect for what each other has done and what we're doing. And hey, if there's a criticism, someone could come along and say, hey, you know what? I observe what you do. Can I make this observation? Right? That shows respect. But the way Oaklandside plays it, that's not happening. It's too bad. Because ultimately it leads to their downfall on their own. But not mine. Not my company. All right? So there it is, folks. I had to put it out there for those who might be saying, hey, when I type Zennie Abraham, I see this. What is this disclaimer here? Well, that under images. That disclaimer has to do with Oaklandside. It's a big scarlet letter. This habit of those in black media and just in black society using white-owned media to attack each other, play it smart. Start your own media company and then take all that internet click volume over there. And then guess what? You can tell stories for everybody. It doesn't matter what color they are or anything else. From your perspective, a unique perspective as a black individual or a group, right? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with seeing color for one reason. The food is fantastic. What I'm talking about is Colombian food, Greek food, Turkish food. See people for who they are. See their cultures. Because that kaleidoscope is so beautiful. It really is. And use your media to present the kaleidoscope of the world as it is. It's a lot of fun. We're not all the same, but we have similar interests, and we have similar wants and similar fears, and we all want to live well. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the beauty of American culture. That's what some don't see. That's why, like I said, television unites us. We're united by the NFL. Everybody remembers last night's game. Okay. So, see you soon, folks. Thanks. And Oaklandside, be nice. There was one time you all were really nice when you had someone call me regarding the issue of the Coliseum and the vendors outside. In fact, someone should do a follow-up to find out if ICE agents have been bothering those people. I'm talking about the people that make the hot dogs, the Coliseum, and everything else. They need to be protected. All right, see ya.